Donald Trump has never been more panicked, and that is because Donald Trump has never seen a lower point in his presidency than right now. Not only are officials in his cabinet turning on him, of course, MAGA is as well. And the worst former friend of Donald Trump, who is making his life hell, just decided to make it even worse. That is Elon Musk, who continues to double down on his Epstein claims against Trump, and the latest is having him freak out. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting the work that we're doing on this channel. Now, before we can get into what Elon posted in the wee hours of the night that has Donald Trump completely losing his mind, we have to start with some of the MAGA infighting in Trump's administration that has gotten us to this point.
This is not the most important part of the story, but I will just pause here for a moment, because a personal feud between the FBI director, the FBI deputy director, and the attorney general that is so intense it warrants a peacemaking meeting hosted by the White House chief of staff, who has a lot on her plate. Well, this may be a first, and I've worked in 2 administrations, but this may be a first. Now, according to a bunch of reporting, both Patel and Bongino have been frustrated with Bondi for a while now. In the Epstein case, Bongino felt that Bondi had overpromised and underdelivered, which, to be fair, I guess she kind of did. I mean, she was definitely hyping the revelations up before saying nothing to see here. But behind the scenes, Patel and Bongino may have been more agreeable than they claim. Bondi's deputy at the Justice Department, Trump's former defense attorney Todd Blanche, said in a social media post, "I worked closely with Patel and Bongino on the joint FBI and DOJ memo regarding the Epstein files. All of us signed off on the contents of the memo and the conclusions stated in the memo." And also, a source familiar with Bondi and Blanche's thinking told NBC News that all of them were on the same page on this all along until the criticism started to come in.
So it is important that Jen Psaki brought up the fact that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel might be potentially leaking information. They want to keep their story straight. I talked about this in previous videos when we first saw that Dan Bongino was furious with Pam Bondi, and it is because he knows, and you see this in the Turning Point USA crowd who's talking about the Epstein files, that he needs to preserve his standing with the MAGA base first and foremost. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino want to grift off of MAGA, so they can't get on their bad side. They'll do anything they possibly can to win back their love. And that goes for Elon as well, who saw his approval rating really dip over the past couple of weeks as he's been fighting with Donald Trump. And it's the reason he's putting out a new post, and it might have something to do with this breaking article right here. They had to use a saw. Trump reportedly burying Epstein drives, pried from safe. Donald Trump's administration says it has released all the info it has on Jeffrey Epstein, but there is additional evidence being held back, according to a former prosecutor on Saturday. Former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Dave Ehrenberg, appeared on MSNBC this weekend, where he was asked about the recent controversial announcement from the Department of Justice that there is no Epstein client list, which has become the subject of conspiracy theories among the MAGA faithful. While the right-wing conspiracy theorists want to see a client list, there is no client list, according to Ehrenberg, who added, "But there is evidence of third parties who were involved in this." After all, what was Ghislaine Maxwell prosecuted for if there was no third party who was getting these young girls trafficked to them? And so there is evidence, he said before flagging a raid. In 2019, when Donald Trump was president, there was a raid of Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion, and there was a safe, and they had to use a saw to get into the safe. And there, where the hard drives or thumb drives were, what's on those thumb drives? We still really don't know, he said. So I think there's a lot of images. I think there are ties to individuals, and perhaps the DOJ thinks there's not enough evidence to file a lawsuit, especially when you saw that big celebrities like Diddy just got away with human trafficking, allegedly. He continued, though, saying the decision came down to calculus. But yes, I do think that people have the right to ask questions, because I don't think the evidence shows that it's a buttoned-up case. There are individuals out there. It's just not a client list like the right wing believes. This is not a cabal of Democrats who had a big sex trafficking ring in the basement of a pizza shop, so they need to get over that. While Donald Trump was president in 2019, more evidence, which is not being given to us, which is not being described by Pam Bondi, the evidence from this raid that is allegedly being hidden, that was taken. And Donald Trump doesn't want to give it up. It's the reason Elon is making some waves in this scandal again. Elon Musk breaks silence on Trump's Epstein file demand to MAGA. Elon Musk has added his voice to the chorus of conversations calling on President Trump to release the Epstein files as promised hours after the president pleaded with MAGA to end its civil war. In response to Trump's Truth Social post on Saturday calling for his supporters to stop targeting Attorney General Pam Bondi, Musk tweeted, "He said Epstein half a dozen times while telling everyone to stop talking about Epstein." The 54-year-old billionaire added, "Just release these files as promised." In response to another post about Trump's call for unity, Musk wrote, "What the hell kind of system are we living in if thousands of kids were abused? The government has videos of the abusers, and yet none of the abusers are even facing charges. This is a very big deal," Musk added. And we see one of those tweets from Elon Musk right here. So Elon Musk is also subscribing to this theory that there are more tapes out there which Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are refusing to release. They are not showing us the footage that they have. Now, the line from Bondi, from Kash Patel, from Bongino was that they were doing it to protect victims. But Donald Trump continues to talk about himself. Donald Trump continues to talk about context. Donald Trump isn't talking about victims. His line is much different from that of Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. Donald Trump is just talking about himself. And who was president in 2019 when tapes from a 2019 raid of Jeffrey Epstein's house in 2019 in New York were hidden? I keep saying 2019. MAGA wants to talk about all these conspiracies, but they don't want to talk about the real fact, or I guess now they do, that Donald Trump was president when this all began. Why don't they want to bring that up? What was he hiding then? If he's trying to hide stuff now, as Elon is pointing out, he was trying to hide stuff then as well. And MAGA is getting mad at Pam Bondi? Really? It is Donald Trump who is using the DOJ as just like an extra limb, abusing power as much as he possibly can. Jamie Raskin broke that all down right here.
In power gets to do whatever they want, which of course is the Trump MAGA vision for our future.
Congressman Raskin, I would like to hear what you think about some of the comments of the White House border czar, Tom Homan, on Fox News earlier this week.
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need the totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions.
So, Congressman Raskin, that's probable cause he's just dismissing casually. And then you have Donald Trump, who posted on Truth Social authorizing law enforcement to arrest ICE protesters using, quote, any means necessary. What do you make of these developments for the rule of law in America?
It's plainly unconstitutional. There are constitutions on earth that operate like that, which say either there's a state of emergency, which can be unilaterally declared by an executive that then empowers the executive branch and the police and army to do whatever they want. There are some authoritarian constitutions which establish that as a norm. Neither of those is the American Constitution. Our Constitution applies in peacetime and wartime. It applies if we have a Democratic president or a Republican president. We don't have special exceptions which say the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply if Donald Trump is president. We don't have exceptions which say, well, if we're dealing with immigrants, the Constitution doesn't govern and due process doesn't operate. Justice Scalia was someone emphatic about that point, that due process operates both for non-citizens and for citizens. I've got MAGA colleagues who say to me, well, you don't think we've got due process for guilty people, do you? And I just have to crack up because we don't know if they're guilty until there's been due process. And that's what due process is all about. That's what the presumption of innocence is all about. That's what probable cause and the search warrant requirements are all about in the Fourth Amendment.
Congressman Raskin, I want to get your reaction to some breaking news that is happening right now on the president's social media platform, where he announced 30% tariff rate for the European Union starting on August 1st. That was while you were answering the first question at the start of this block. And then as you were answering Elise's question, he announced the same 30% tariff rate on Mexico. Your reaction to that?
Well, maybe I should stop talking because it sounds like he's completely out of it sounds like he's completely out of control. Look, the International Court of Trade, the American court system has been uniform and emphatic about this, right? Congress, under Article 1 of the Constitution, has the power to regulate commerce among the states and with foreign nations. Congress has always been the one to control tariffs and in limited cases has delegated power to the president. Now we've got a president who claims he's got the power to impose tariffs on the entire world, except for Russia, of course. But he's got the power to impose tariffs on everybody for whatever reason, including in the case of Brazil and Bolsonaro, because he's mad at the government there for actually holding his alter ego in Brazil to account for trying to overthrow an election a la January 6th. And then he goes ahead and just imposes these extraordinary tariffs on the people of Brazil. He thinks he can do whatever he wants, but that's not our system. And the courts have said, look, the Congress has not delegated that authority to the president. If we tried to say the president can impose whatever tariffs he wants, that itself would be an unconstitutional delegation of power to the president of the United States. We can't give our lawmaking power over to the president. So, look, we've been winning the vast majority of these cases in district courts and in appeals courts. Our problem has been in the Supreme Court on some of them, not on all of them. We need all of the courts to uphold the rule of law here and say the president is just finger painting on the Constitution. He does not have the power to impose these tariffs. And the Brazil one, for example, he was saying, well, I'm imposing this because of the trade problems they've caused for us. We have a $7.5 billion trade surplus with Brazil. And he just decided to impose it because he wanted to show, his fidelity to his friend Bolsonaro, who he feels is being unfairly treated by the Democratic government there.
Congressman, I misspoke. Those announcements by Trump they came before the segment started. So sorry to snatch back some of your power there.
Don't worry, because we believe in accuracy here. Right. Some people should take note. Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
If you want to get mad at Pam Bondi, that anger is better blazed with Donald Trump. If you think that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing a good job, it's just because they're trying to continue the grift from you. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, in my mind, don't actually really care about this list coming out. If they did, Dan Bongino wouldn't have taken the day off from work. He would have gotten to work. He would have worked harder. He would have communicated with the press. He would be leaking. He would be doing something. But he's not. He's just trying to protect his status as a MAGA grifter. And Donald Trump is doing the same. That's what Look Away, This Is All a Distraction is about. But we're not going to look away. We're going to continue to pick at this. We're going to continue to cause problems for Trump. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.